Roundtable, Marvel's Endgame, the end of an era. We're going to chat a little bit about what's come in the past with the last three movies and what's going to come in the future with Marvel's Endgame, Avengers Endgame coming up here. I am Kevin Gallagher, the host of Everything is Awesome. Thank you. It's a podcast where I sit around and talk about cool, awesome things with people, usually Batman and Kevin Smith, and Marvel is usually the three, four things that we talk about. Let's introduce our panelists today. We have, to my right, Mike from the Recasting Couch.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
Make sure you...
I'm sorry, I'm right into it, yeah. Recasting Couches is a podcast. We have me and my brother recast movies and talk ad nauseam. So.
And to his right, we have, what do you go by these days? Just Rodney Johnson or? Rodney Nubius Black Johnson, right
Hello
here.
there, ladies and gentlemen. Stop looking so stunned. Make noise!
He's really here.
I'm a co-founder of the Blacklisted podcast. It's in the name. We talk about anything and everything in pop culture, but we put an urban slant on it. For the uninitiated / white people, we're talking about how people of color look at these things. Because we look at it from another perspective. And by putting it out there, you see where we're coming from as we share the way you've seen it, from the way, where you came from. So that's what we do. And we try to keep it light and fun and look it up. You ain't got nothing else to do with 50 minutes of your life. Try it out.
Plus it's free.
A fun fact about Rodney here is that long ago, before the MCU was a thing, before a shared universe in comic books was a thing, we were sitting down at a friend's house or something, talking about the Ang Lee's Hulk movie. And the end of that movie where you see Hulk jumping through the woods and then you see something parting through the trees. And he goes, they can try to set that up for Wolverine.
Right.
Rodney was the one that planted the idea of like a shared universe in my head when it comes to Marvel.
Y'all keep thinking Kevin Feige did it.
It was Nubius Black. They heard that conversation. And to his right, the creator of Tellest and Quantum Quest, the game, one of my best friends in the world, if not best friend, Mr. Mike D'Angelo.
Mike.
Hey everybody. Yeah, I am the creator of Tellest. I'm actually tabling at this convention, table F6. I don't even know if you can tell where the tables are.
It says Tellest.
Yeah, we got the big Tellest banner and everything. Tellest is a medieval superhero brand. We don't have comic books yet, but it's all like literary novels and everything like that.
And for the people here at Comic-Con, it is like when X-Men Avengers, you pick your super team, meets fantasy Lord of the Rings. It's wonderful. Superheroes in medieval times is basically the pitching on that. So.
Read these books, then watch Game of Thrones. There you go, you get the 1-2 punch, baby.
All right, so last year we were lucky enough to come here and talk about 10 years of Marvel. So I don't want to concentrate on that first 10 years. But we have some new panelists here that weren't here last year, so we're going to go down the couch and talk. Just give like your 60 seconds, your thoughts of the first 10 years before we move on to Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and all those other movies. Let's start with you, Mike.
So, I mean, last year we talked about it. Up until that point, we had almost like a flawless run. I mean, you have a little bit of like a misstep with like your Thor: The Dark World or your Incredible Hulk and everything, but for the most part, everything has been fantastic. And the last three movies that we saw between now and the last time we did this panel, they have been incredible as well. We still haven't seen a single slip up that's been like worthy of like going like, I could skip that one if I was going to do a rewatch. Infinity War was fantastic. Ant-Man and the Wasp was like a nice little dessert to this huge entree that you had, and then Captain Marvel brought it this year like almost as strong as any other origin story that we've seen.
Rodney, what do you think of the first 10 years?
First 10 years, it meant a lot to me personally because I always bring up the story that when I was growing up, back in the Stone Age when you only had 3 channels, some of you may remember that, but I remember staying up, getting up early in the morning, getting that bowl of cereal, sitting on the floor watching Super Friends. And then when the show went off the air, I would always be upset. Like said, my mom would go, "Why are you upset? You just watched what you waited all week to see." And I would always say, yeah, but I don't see me. I don't see nothing that looks like me. I could not relate. Sure, they gave us Black Vulcan with these tight underwear things, but he never did anything. He hung out with the Mexican guy who never did anything, who hung out with the Japanese guy. You see where I'm going with this? Then Marvel comes out with their movies, the first one, out of the box. Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. Couldn't have had a better cast. But then it did what I always wanted to see that my children could see. They seen themselves. Sure, my kid is not as handsome as Terrence Howard, but damn it, he can fit in that suit one day. Marvel broke that mold that anybody can be a hero. You could be black, you could be white, you could be yellow, you could be straight, you could be gay. Anybody could be a superhero. Marvel did that. They took that risk because a lot of people still they weren't willing to give other people that chance to come out there. Let's face it. When Superman 1 came out, who here seen Superman 1 real quick? Just by hands up. How many black people did you see in there? One, right? It was a pimp that said to Superman, that is one bad outfit. I was done. And that's what we got. And we had to deal with that. I went through life going, I'm going to be a pimp when I grow up. Not Superman. But Marvel Cinematic Universe changed all that. And I thank them for it.
Mike. Yeah, let's give that a round of applause. Yay.
The first
Good luck following that.
Yeah, right. The first 10 years of the Marvel Universe, it was just shocking. To take on such a huge project and to kind of lay the seeds of what was to come in each one of the first movies, it really was an undertaking that, I mean, cinematically, I don't think anyone had ever done before. Where you're doing callbacks to the first movie and the 10th movie, and like it really is a masterpiece as far as cinematic work from start to finish. All whatever 20 movies it is now.
22 films, I believe, to date.
It's amazing. It's amazing what they've been able to do, and I mean, on Netflix, and now everything's going to TV. It's just awesome. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go ad nauseum here, and basically I agree with all these guys here. The first 10 years of Marvel is, as a kid, I sat down and watched, Spider-Man the animated series, X-Men the animated series, Batman the animated series. That's what was like there. And those, with Marvel at least, and with Batman and Superman, you had your mini shared universes there on TV with the animated series. And it was kind of a pipe dream in the 90s even, which isn't that long ago. It was a pipe dream to think about this massive shared universe. Well, the George Clooney Batman, when he mentions Superman, that was like, oh my God, the one good thing about this movie is they talk about another superhero.
I mean, the nipples weren't enough for you?
But so the MCU bringing, all these heroes together, and the heroes, they didn't have Spider-Man, they didn't have the X-Men. To start with Iron Man, who now, many of you, if you're young enough, think, oh yeah, of course, Iron Man is the man.
He's an A-list guy.
But in the 90s and even the early aughts, he was nobody. Yeah. So the MCU is just, the first 10 years is astonishing. And then Infinity War comes. And last year at this con, we did not get to spoil it. So, by the way, guys, if you haven't seen Infinity War, what are you doing here? Ant-Man and the Wasp, if you haven't seen. Captain Marvel is the most recent one, if you haven't seen that. We're going to spoil some movies. So, when we start talking about, maybe plug your ears if you haven't seen it yet. But Infinity War, let's start with Rodney here. Man, what do you think?
Wow, I mean, it's hard for the people who know me, know I could talk a mile a minute, but I was speechless. You knew what was happening when the movie ended, but you knew that some of these characters were coming back, but you walked out like you lost your best friend.
Yeah.
So you were, for 10 years, attached to these characters, and that's the thing with the Marvel characters, in my opinion, compared to the DC universe. You care.
Right.
They have soul, they have heart, these films. No matter how outlandish the costume or how stupid the premise may be to you, you still find in your heart to care. And then when you lost Peter Parker, I get choked up just thinking of it. When you got Black Panther, a character that I thought I would never see in my lifetime, and I'm like, yeah! And then next year, oh, she's dead. It wasn't even next year, it was like, I was like, they killed him already! I'm like, man, I can't even celebrate. But yeah, they really hit it on the nose for me.
I have, when it comes to the character deaths, I have a real, I know I have to be in the movieverse to kind of like understand and feel what the characters are feeling. And it was hard for me, I will say, the Peter Parker, like, death of him, I was like, oh my god, this is the one. This is the one that got me.
Right.
Because Tom Holland he ate that scenery up, and he made me care for a character that I know is getting a sequel in July. You know, that's why it was hard to believe some of these characters. Like, why do I care? But when I pull myself out, the second viewing, the third viewing of Infinity War, I put myself in the character shoes, and I was like, okay, my heart's like crushed now because they don't know that they're coming back for their sequel movies, right? They make you care, unlike some other franchises out there.
Well, not only that, I know that whenever this movie's talked about, it's always talked about the ending, right? It's always when everyone disappears. But up until that point, it was a great movie also. It wasn't
it wasn't just the ending.
Right, it wasn't just this, oh my god, everyone's dead kind of moment. It really drew you in. I have several kids, and we went together. And they were like riveted the whole time. And when that happened, I mean, my daughter cried, my son was like, Dad, what's going on? Like, it was a real kind of emotional thing. And I agree, on the second and third viewing, you can distance yourself a little bit from it, and you start to see, like, that was an amazing feat that they pulled off, and to have the cojones to kill off half of your universe.
Right.
I mean, it really, I mean, we all know there are going to be people coming back, and in the movie business, you can bring back anyone for any moment, for any reason, any moment, but it was just, I thought it was, again, Marvel taking a huge leap into like taking these beloved characters and kind of wiping the slate clean. It was really,
And I think you said something that nails that movie perfectly, and it's kids don't know that they're getting sequels, right? So like, my son was a little too young, he's 7, I think he's a little too young to see that in the theater. We started watching it on Netflix, but he hasn't seen the whole cinematic universe. But for kids that have, for those teenagers maybe, they're preteens that have, like, to be in those shoes, like, I would love to witness that, because that is something where, like, oh my god, they killed Gamora, they killed Black Panther, they killed Peter Parker, and like to have the tears of it, they don't know. And that is something that I think Marvel does better than anyone else when it comes into this genre of filmmaking.
Hey Mike, what did you think of the Battle of the Sherlocks? I thought that was good too.
Well, I mean, you talking the actual battle when they're fighting against Thanos, or are you talking about just the witticisms between the two of them?
Between Tony Stark and Doctor Strange.
I'm surprised that Marvel didn't lean in even more and like
thought
have
they
like a no Sherlock kind of moment.
Right.
They had the opportunity there.
Oh, and they still do. They still do.
That's true. That's true.
Mike, I know you and I have talked in Infinity War a lot, so I don't think you're going to say anything that surprises me, but for everyone else.
You think it was 19 movies at the time that preceded Infinity War, correct?
Or that was the 19th.
And so that was number 19. So they had 18 movies that came before that, and almost every single one of them had this really like upbeat, heartwarming feel. You're good guys. There could be nothing that kind of set them off or set them aside. There were no hurdles really. Civil War was a little bit like
that's when it started making the
like
turn.
that. And then all of a sudden, Infinity War does this thing that no other franchise in the history of movies of anything had the cojones to do. And all of a sudden, you have the worst movie that you've ever seen. In the best movie that you've ever seen.
Right.
You're talking about like going back and seeing the movie like 2 or 3 times. My wife refused to go back a third time because it was so heart-wrenching what happened to these characters. And you of course knew, we already knew about Spider-Man coming back. You knew that the billion-dollar franchise of Black Panther, that they weren't going to go like, yeah, we don't want the money anymore. So obviously you knew they were coming back, and it was still something they hit so hard to see it on screen.
And one of the things you also didn't know, though, are they going to bring them back earlier?
Yeah, it's true. Like, just because Spider-Man, it could be pre-Infinity War.
We don't know exactly what's going to be happening, but I have a feeling with Captain Marvel on board that we're going to see some of those people come back for real.
Yeah.
And there's also this thing a lot of like detractors for the Marvel Cinematic Universe has, and sometimes for the right reason, they always claim Marvel had this villain problem. They were like, for years, Thanos, when are we ever going to see him? Then when we finally get him, he's the most awesome villain in the world. And you're going, he's doing villainous things, but the best villain doesn't see himself as the villain. He sees him as the good guy.
Right.
And ultimately, you can almost, like, if you really listen to what he says and how he
It
says
makes
it,
perfect sense.
you almost go like, I kind of get what he's saying.
I kind of get what he's saying, but couldn't he make more resources?
Yeah, let's go about it the
That's
opposite.
what I was thinking.
Can he be a glass half full
Yeah,
type?
that's how you look at that glass.
When you make, hey, my man, more resources, right? Would be easier easier, you know. No, let's kill everybody and just save 2 or 3 people to eat all the food in the world. It's just made, you know, when you think about it. But I think, according to Doctor Strange, when he said he went through all those different realities, maybe that was one of those realities. We don't know that. I don't think I want to sit in a movie to watch 100,000 million realities. Oh my God, I would. But I'm just saying.
I mean, I'm pretty glad that I get the opportunity to sit down and watch all 22 movies before Endgame.
Exactly.
And so, you know, if I have that opportunity, I'm going to take it in the next couple of weeks here. Following up Infinity War, we get this. You said it perfectly, Mike, D'Angelo. The dessert to Infinity War. The perfect, I think, medicine that we all needed after witnessing our family, really. Like after, we've been with these characters for over 10 years at that point. This lighthearted movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp. This little picture. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I loved it.
What did you think?
So, I mean, when you think about it, it was like the right dose of humor to kind of pick us up from that void that Infinity War left us with. I mean, it really, Paul Rudd was like the perfect person to pick as Ant-Man and to have it set so that we could have followed up in Infinity War. And they still like hit us with, you know, coincidentally enough, that sting at the end where, you know, all your people are still dead.
And you're going to be stuck here.
You're stuck, so yeah. You were walking out feeling good, wham, kicked you right in the nads again.
Yeah,
like,
the
just when you were feeling good about yourself, now you're going home icing yourself down again.
Because, you know, I was a late to the game Ant-Man fan. I didn't see the first movie until after Infinity War.
Really?
Because I was like, you know what? This trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp is selling me. Like, not that the Ant-Man trailer didn't sell me, but I was like, this one looks real good. Let me go watch the first one, and then I'll go watch this in the theater. And it was, I don't know. It's just that goofy. I love the goofiness. I love Paul Rudd, that ageless son of a baby.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's kids here. But yeah, I mean, I love him as an actor and as a comedy guy. So like, yeah, that movie was perfect. I love Michelle Pfeiffer as an actress. I love Evangeline Lilly. I love the whole cast there. Michael Douglas, I love it. And I mean, the story even like this, to be so secluded from Infinity War, it really has nothing to do with that story until the last 30 seconds of the movie in the post-credits there. I think they did a really good job of like just kind of servicing that story without having to be burdened by the greater Avengers story.
Right. How cool was it to see Perry White show up as, what's his name? Foster. Bill Foster.
Yeah.
That was cool too.
Yeah.
And again, Marvel, they take these characters, and some of these characters no one ever heard of. Like if you're a hardcore comic book reader like I was, the Ghost was not a female.
Okay.
Yeah, they twisted some things for sure. And she did a phenomenal job.
She was awesome.
Right.
I mean, if you had that accent, I'd be awesome too.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I liked Ant-Man and the Wasp because technically they could have called it the Wasp and Ant-Man because she was running the show.
It was her movie.
It was her movie. It was her coming out party. She actually had the chops of being able to combat and fight, where Paul Rudd really was comedy relief.
Yes.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
And what was his name? Luis?
Oh, God, I love
Luis
it.
is awesome.
Yeah,
They need to do a video of Luis narrating the whole cinematic universe in 5 minutes so you can all catch up.
Yeah.
And it'll be perfect.
Have you not watched a single movie before Endgame? Here's Luis for you.
Oh yeah.
Here's Luis. He's going to break it down for you in 5 minutes.
I would love to see every actor reprise their roles just so that they can mouth over his voiceover.
So, being a part of like film Twitter and getting into a lot of these debates, there seems to be a handful of like eternal debates. And there's always this idea of like what sequel followed up an original that was better. I don't know if you guys have been involved in that debate. There are a lot of...
Not on Twitter.
Now, you're talking about sequels in general, not just MCU.
Not MCU, just sequels in general.
We've talked about this
Empire Strikes Back.
Your Terminator.
That's the one that everyone talks about.
Terminator 2.
I don't
That's
agree.
easy.
Terminator 2, easy. I don't agree with Empire. But anyway, I don't want to get into that debate on this panel. But this movie, I think, as a follow-up to Ant-Man, is way better.
Oh yeah, because it had more money.
Well, I didn't, of all of this...
Plus less baggage.
Of all of this universe, Ant-Man, the original Ant-Man movie, is probably my least favorite of all of them.
Oh, wow.
And this one, I went into kind of like, well, I feel like I got to see everything, so I'm going to see it, but I was kind of like, by the end of the movie, I was in. I was.
A lot of people didn't like Thor that way, The Dark World.
I'm actually, now that you say that, let me revise it. Ant-Man's my second least favorite. My least favorite was Thor Ragnarok.
Whoa!
Get off this stage. You lucky I had a hernia, or I'd throw your ass right on the ground.
I thought that
Get out of here.
I thought they turned a really awesome character and a really awesome story, and they made it too silly. It was too silly.
I loved it.
I felt like that was what you needed for Thor because Thor was too vanilla.
Too serious.
Very
vanilla.
I totally disagree.
Oh my God!
Oh my goodness! I thought he was
By the
gonna
way,
say Dark World.
I get this reaction all the time.
We don't have time to unpack that.
You need the big couch because you need to lay down.
Between thinking Empire isn't as good as A New Hope and then this take, I get a lot. I get a
Oh
lot of
my
tweets about
good,
it.
this dude, yeah, he needs the couch.
He hosts a movie podcast.
This guy
guys.
hosts a movie podcast
I've got hot
where
takes.
Luke Skywalker cried over an old man that he met 5 minutes ago, but their mom and dad, aunt and uncle who raised him since he was a child, he was like, "Huh, they're barbecue." You got an issue.
Hey, why don't you come on my podcast? We'll talk about it.
And we will.
All right.
Shazam!
Let's take a trip back to the 90s with the most recent MCU film, and I think, yeah.
Oh.
Where are you?
5 concussions later.
Yeah, you get hit in the head way too much, man. Captain Marvel. Not the only Captain Marvel to debut this year on film, but I think different enough. And I had Mike and D'Angelo and I were talking about this yesterday off panel, saying, which one was better, DC's Shazam or MCU's Captain Marvel. I am right now in the boat of MCU. Captain
I think
Marvel.
they're two different
They are.
genres.
I agree.
That's what you said as well.
But if I had to pick one, like it's half a star better is Captain Marvel. But that's because you're tugging at my 90s.
Your MCUs.
Yeah, my MCU. You're tugging at my 90s heartstrings. You open it up with that Stan Lee tribute in the beginning.
That I cried like a baby for.
Why was there no warning at the theater?
Yes.
You're going to cry. Grab your Kleenex because you're
It's
going
time
to
to
cry.
get the feels.
And
Real quick, I just want to mention, so Mark Ruffalo has said for Endgame you want a box of tissues, so just so that I have that out there for
Okay.
everybody.
I'm glad there are no kids in the audience.
And then on, like, just a final note for me, I'm probably the lone wolf here, but like the Kevin Smith throwaway.
That was good.
That was like, I'm a diehard Kevin Smith fan, so to see that, like, I teared up on behalf of Kevin Smith.
How did that even happen? And for it to be Mallrats and not Clerks, like it was.
Well, because
like at that time.
Well, Stan Lee showed up in.
Stan was in Mall.
Well, you're sitting next to Kevin Smith's stunt double. So.
I mean, he loses weight, I lose weight. But Captain Marvel, the 90s movie that I think did everything that I wanted to do. I loved it. And I don't think it did what Wonder Woman did for like your first solo female lead.
You can only have one though, that's it.
You're right. And DC beat Marvel to the punch, but again, two different movies. But I think the best thing that both movies did was like, let's make these period pieces.
Yep.
And you can't be any different than World War I than the 90s.
Exactly.
So I loved it.
I like it.
Captain Marvel.
I agree. Listen, similar to what you were saying earlier about the universe in general, I have 2 little girls at home. And to be able to show them these kinds of characters, like the most powerful in the universe, and someone who doesn't back down from anything, and it seemed to be the running theme in that movie was her grit, right? Like she, no matter what was going to happen, she picked herself up, dusted herself off, and got back into the game. And to be able to show my daughters that in a really entertaining, really fun way that they've been showing to little boys forever, or at least some little boys forever, that kind of hit me as well. And I thought the 90s was a perfect place to put that.
It's such a cool.
I agree.
The 90s has like, and maybe it's just like through the lens of Captain Marvel and seeing her make the 90s seem so, it makes me remember the 90s as like such a cool piece. And I love that movie for the same reason. I have a daughter who is 4 years old, she's gonna be 5 in a couple weeks here. And like when I can take her to see that movie, it's going to be great. Like she's growing up at a time that no other person that looks not like me had. Your kids, my daughter, your daughters, like, you know, they can go to the movies and see themselves finally represented. They don't have to, I guess I'll be, you know, whoever. Like, I'll be the pimp. I'll be the female Luke Skywalker, I guess, whatever.
What's super cool about it also is that we were watching this movie, and my son, who's the oldest of my brood, was totally into it, and it wasn't like, oh, it's just a girl. None of that stuff. It was like, here's this other awesome character who's got all of this power, and it showed something to him too, that it's not just girls can do it, but anybody can do it. Exactly what you were saying before. And it's really cool to see him get behind a character like that and love it. He actually said that Captain Marvel might be his favorite character of the whole universe, so it's pretty awesome.
You also get to see a softer side of Nick Fury, which was totally
awesome. Yeah, it was great.
Awesome. I thought it was great in the fact that for 10 years you were wondering, how did he lose that eye? How did he lose that eye? And then you find out and you go, man, he's been lying all this time.
I love it though.
I loved it.
I was like,
and any of you guys who have cats, I'm watching all of you. Because I don't trust cats.
Yeah, you all got flirkets out there. I want to specifically ask you about Captain Marvel, because you, you know, not had a bad taste, but you like Shazam better.
I did, yeah. I like Shazam better, and me being not the DCU guy, like for the past, you know, couple of years, I've been the guy who wanted DCU to do better. And I felt like, of the two movies, and they're both great, I think it was, like we said, a half a star difference. I felt like Shazam had a little bit more like an upbeat kick to it, and it didn't have that lull in the middle of it. But Captain Marvel stood on fantastic ground. She's a very lovable character. She's strong. She's very independent. She has a good moral compass. And to what you were saying, she's not just a good female superhero. She's a good superhero. She's a fantastic superhero, and anybody should be able to kind of like use her as their guiding star.
It's kind of weird for her character also, because usually in these type of movies, you have to have the hero's journey. She already is given to us as a hero.
She's very cool.
But she had to get her humanity. That was the part of the movie, was her to get her humanity. And that lull was when it came to her being this stone granite Kree warrior to coming back to Earth and finding out that she had a life here. And that she was stolen. And that she had loved ones there that loved her and took care of her. And she had to be brought back to that.
You know what this was? This was a fantastic Superman story.
Exactly.
This was,
yes.
You were looking at a character, usually you see these characters and you see them as the human first, and then they become the hero. You got to see her as the hero, and then you got to see what makes them tick behind the scenes.
And then she turned into God at the end. That kind of weird me now.
All three phases.
Because that's the money. If I have any problem with Captain Marvel, is what can't she do?
Yeah, she doesn't have...
She is now at Kal-El levels of power, and you cannot relate. Who here relates to Superman? Anybody in this audience relate to him?
He's too much of a Boy Scout.
Not just that, he's literally God pretending to be a man.
Well, yeah, which is why they introduced kryptonite. And what is Captain Marvel's kryptonite?
And Captain Marvel needs that kryptonite.
We'll find something. There's going to be something.
I think so. One of the flaws that you can say about Captain Marvel, about Carol, is she's a little bit arrogant, and
very much so.
And even in the trailers, and even the trailers that we've seen in Endgame, she's very much like, you got me now. Like, you can take me straight to Thanos, and I'm going to wipe the floor with it.
Thor was fine with it.
It's true.
And so I think this is a great transition to Endgame. And to your point about how strong Carol is, Captain Marvel is, the trailers have really sold that, I think, with her just standing basically toe-to-toe with Thor, who is an actual god, and not flinching at all.
Not even blinking.
Not even blinking when the hammer gets, or the axe, when Stormbreaker gets summoned to him.
She's not impressed.
Yeah, I love it. I love that she does not care about Thor being a man, really.
Yep.
So with Endgame, what is your hopes for Endgame here?
My hope for Endgame, and you can speak to my partner Chaos on this, we talked about this on our podcast before. We did a whole rundown of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and when we got to Iron Man 2, and I'm no genius, I'm not the brightest guy on here, but mark my words for this. When Tony was dying of palladium poisoning and he came up with this new element, I said, dude, that's got something to do with the damn Cosmic Cube. It has to, because his dad had it. Then they go back to Captain Marvel and you find out that his dad had it and it was borrowed by Danvers, what's her name? Not Carol Danvers, Larson.
So Brie Larson is the character you played.
Well, you know, Lawson. I'm sorry, Lawson.
Carol Danvers.
No. Captain Marvel. Marvel.
Oh, Jude Law.
Yeah,
No, not Jude Law.
Not Jude Law, the lady. Dick Tracy's wife.
Who played the
Right? Dick Tracy's
we
wife.
know who we're talking about.
And that Betty. She had the cosmic cube to make this light-speed engine. And then it came back to Earth, and then the Tesseract was stolen from Loki. Yeah. But before all that, you know, the actual code, the actual instructions, if you will, were in the Queen's Star Expo.
Yeah.
When Tony put that thing together and he created his own new element that never got a name, I said to Chaos, that's going to come back.
Because Howard even had like a little miniature city based around that palladium.
Exactly, it has to. So I went $5 from each one of you when I'm right. I got y'all addresses.
What's your hopes for Endgame?
I guess the only real hope I have is I was talking with some people yesterday about it. I avoid all trailers. I avoid all information. I don't want to know anything about it before I see it. I already know I'm going to see it, so I don't need you to advertise it.
But
right?
to that point, real quick, not to interrupt you, is I think Marvel with Endgame, very specifically, has done a great job of giving us a lot of footage, but nothing. Like, I don't know what this movie's going to be. I just know I'm going to cry.
Yeah, I don't want to use the visual. I avoid it at all costs. But the only thing that I really am hoping for this is that they don't drop the ball. It's not likely. They haven't, as we talked, we haven't really
22 for 22.
So far, right. But that would be my only fear, is that it ends in an unsatisfying way.
Justice League!
Yeah, how about all of DC?
Except for the last 3 movies.
Except for Wonder Woman.
You didn't like Shazam or
I haven't seen
Aquaman?
I haven't seen Shazam. I didn't like Aquaman.
You didn't like Aquaman? That man was handsome.
I thought it was visually.
Oh my God.
It was amazing to see, but it was kind of like.
Listen, get a time machine and go back to the panel yesterday.
As the straightest man in the room, I loved Aquaman.
I loved Aquaman.
With that hair.
I said it yesterday, what I loved about Aquaman, just a final nail in this coffin, is that it took us to a place the way that Guardians of the Galaxy and Star Wars took us to space. It took us to the underwater that no one else had.
I said that.
So
He's underwater with a tan. I want you to think about it.
give me your Endgame hopes here.
So, to your point with the whole, like, they haven't spoiled anything, I am the guy who's the opposite of Michael. I go out looking for spoilers, and with Infinity War, and especially with Endgame, I am not able to find anything in a 3-hour movie. How do I not know anything besides the first 20 minutes of this movie? It's incredible. And to your point as well, I think the only way that they are going to drop the ball, I think, is if they undersell getting the heroes back. Because they can do it a lot of different ways. I mean, we don't know how it's going to happen. We know, or at least we think, that we're going to get the heroes back and we're going to see later stories. It's not going to happen before the snap.
I'm also wondering if that's going to be the end of the movie, is getting the heroes back. I had this idea that they'll bring them back early to have action with all that stuff, but then they've got to go through and find they got to do all this stuff. I mean, I think everyone is thinking they're going to get the time stone, right, and turn everything back and then try to figure out a way to defeat them, or something along those lines is what everyone's thinking, which means Marvel will probably turn left.
Well, yeah,
do any of that, but
I feel like you can't just reverse the snap. It has to be something that has like a real feeling after it, because everyone still has to know Thanos did this. This is what we have to deal with. There are people out there, you know, laying the groundwork for Galactus and for Kang.
And who's to say they're all coming back?
That's true.
Right.
I have a more important question. Who here is getting a catheter before they go see this movie? Because I ain't getting up to pee.
They said no
And
intermission.
don't sit next to me, because if you kick over my jug, that's on you.
You gotta eat the popcorn first so that you have an
It
empty
don't work that way for me. I'm special.
We got another 10 years, 10, 15 years to figure out that life right there. Here's what I want, and I'm saying this is the guy who has Cap's shield tattooed on his body. It took in the comics for Captain America to die for me to be like, I love this character. And I need to see that in the films. I know no one wants to see our beloved original heroes die, and I don't know what's going to happen, obviously, but for me, and it's probably not going to happen based off some Disney Plus stuff we know about with Winter Soldier and Falcon, but for me, personally, I think what a satisfying ending is some of our original heroes dying. And the one I want to see die is I want to see Steve Rogers. We obviously see in the trailers that Steve and Tony make up, they trust each other.
But do we? Is it present day Steve, or is it?
You know what I think? You're not going to see
you're gonna see Tony die. First of all, you know I told you about the thing on Iron Man's chest. That's gonna be the Space Stone. Tony's gonna die, become the AI for Spider-Man.
I've heard that.
Cap is not gonna die. He's gonna stay in the 40s with Peggy.
But you see, here's the problem with that.
Oh, I just gotta chill.
I know, I do that, right?
Doesn't it super satisfying?
I don't make my wife get to chill no more, but
How do you not let that affect 7 years of history?
I don't know.
That's 25 days long.
So and they are doing the What If TV show
Yeah.
on. So you could have your cake and maybe eat it later.
Who's to say that Thor doesn't go off somewhere to help the Asgardians and bring back, what's her name? Jane Foster as the new Thor.
That's true.
Who here would want to see a female?
We can see her
I think female Thor would be awesome, right? What her name be? Thorazine?
I think Thor. I think that's what they called her in the comics, just Thor.
Okay, Thor.
Why do you need? I don't think you need to change it.
I think it'd be awesome.
I would love to see. I love Natalie Portman. I think she's a great actress.
I think so.
I would love to see her take on that role of Thor, and she should. I mean, she should come back.
It's gonna be badass.
Yeah, I do. I want to see. You know, I love the idea of Tony becoming the AI, because that's the way you keep your guy.
alive.
Robert Downey Jr. is the glue to all of this. The last 11 years.
You got it.
There is no MCU, I think, without Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark.
If that happens, does Pepper have to be pregnant at the end? Does he have to
That would be nice.
pass on the
I can see them doing that, and he set the groundwork for that in Infinity War with the
Right, yeah, that's probably gonna happen.
Morgan,
Yeah.
right? Is the baby that they think they're gonna have?
Yeah, maybe. I think that's the name. I forget.
Who's the king of Wakanda right now?
Well, it's gotta be.
I don't even think it's Shuri, because
Shuri's dead?
She's got a black and white poster.
Shuri's
Shuri's
dead. Okoye could be on the throne, but I'm thinking
But she's
M'Baku.
Shuri. I'm thinking it's M'Baku.
I love it. Yeah, give me that. I love that.
Man, that's another movie.
Let's talk the future. There's two things with the future of the MCU here that I want to tackle. We
And
have
then right after this, we've got Q&A, right?
and if people have questions, we have a writer, we have an author of books that does superhero type styles. We have an artist here, my man Rodney here. He draws this stuff on. If you look at the speed drawings on Instagram at Blacklisted Pod, and we have two movie fans here.
Yeah, apparently terrible takes on movies.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
But if you guys have questions about our thoughts on the future or whatever you want to hear us do, we will do Q&A. So let's talk about, we have the future of the MCU in the movie world and Disney+. Let's talk the future of the MCU. The only thing we know for sure is Spider-Man Far From Home.
We got something else too. Shang-Chi.
Yes, we got that.
Which is awesome. How could it be so hard for me growing up in the 70s to see all these cool Asian martial arts superhero movies, and now in 2019, 2020, we're going to get one?
Right.
That's ridiculous.
And they're pretty far along with Shang-Chi, too. They're really playing their cards close to their
Big
chest.
Trouble in Little China, Big Trouble, you know what I mean? Come on, you can do this. This is not hard.
Second panel in a row, Big Trouble in Little China.
That's right. As Jack Burton always says.
And of course we have the Fox officially. This time last year when we talked Fox and Marvel and Disney, it wasn't set in stone because Comcast was still making a play. But now it's official. It's official. Everyone, but technically some of the Spider characters are still owned by Sony. But everyone's coming home pretty much to Disney, to Marvel. So what do you guys want out of the future of the MCU? Whether it be repercussions from Endgame, whether it be something with Spider-Man 4,
and I want done right, and I want Endgame to end with Galactus.
I love it.
I mean, a big tall dude, purple with a chandelier on his head, that sells itself. Think about it.
I feel like Endgame's gonna end. I feel like we're not gonna see.
Well, like
whatever
every
sets
movie
up.
ends.
But you have a cliffhanger at the end.
Okay.
You know that something's gonna happen. I don't think we're gonna
No.
see the Avengers gonna come back in whatever movie. I don't think you're gonna see the next big bad guy at the end of Endgame. I think they're gonna let our characters rest at the end, and then I think Far From Home is gonna pick up and start the next phase.
Yes.
So I don't think we're going to see a Galactus. I think it's too early for a Galactus anyway. Cool. But I think maybe 5 years from now is when you get the first Fox hero. Unless you have like a Storm in Black Panther 2. or something like that, which I can totally see. I think that's a great place to put individual characters.
You want to marry them off and get them all. No offense to you married people, because I'm one of them. You know you're going to have the king down with a queen that can fly. Come on.
Oh no, I think you make it her movie just about, and you make it like, and that's kind of been his thing.
I snuck out the gate here, right?
I think you can totally, in a post or post credits scene, I think you can tease the Fox characters a little bit.
I don't know, because they had it locked down before the Fox deal was official.
Right. I'm saying
do like a Fantastic Four symbol or something like that on the Tony Stark
I love
Tower
that.
or something
I
like
love
that.
the snap.
What about this? No one's talking about it. This mystery shot that was filmed with just the directors, Mark Ruffalo, an unknown actor, and that's it.
I haven't heard of this.
I haven't heard of this. Tell me more.
I just told you.
That's all you know.
Mark Ruffalo and his, what do he calls it? His modesty skirt to cover his nether regions.
I feel like they're not going to beat Mark Ruffalo with any secrets.
The two directors and the staff, but no extra staff, and this actor that they're not naming.
I love that.
This thing was filmed. It was filmed in Atlanta, and I want to say Paul Rudd kind of slipped up and said he was drinking beer with this guy. He could have just been showing up and saying hi.
So this, I don't want to spoil anything. I don't know if this is true or not, but I know that back when they were filming Infinity War, Hugh Jackman didn't show up. He showed up on set.
He showed up on set. That's all
in
I'm saying.
Atlanta. And there was not, he wasn't
remember
filming
this.
anything. And he was in the mutton chops. It wasn't like he was dressed as Hugh Jackman.
And
He had the mutton chops,
could have
the
been like
tank top.
going back in time with the Wolverine and the Hulk having a battle trying to get one of those stones, because that's what it's basically, the whole MacGuffin chase. That's what I'd like to see. Who would like to see Wolverine in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Right?
Very specifically, Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
I'm getting those flirkin' bumps right now. Whew, I'm getting flirkin'
I'll tell you what, but being married as long as I have been, and people have been married as long as me, it takes a little bit to stoke the fires and get things going like they used to be when you're younger. But all it takes for me is Chris, you, and Aquaman. You notice my name never came up in any of that?
Did you give your take on what you want yet?
No,
in the future?
Mine's a super kind of not personal, but like a selfish take.
Okay.
Is that I wish, and I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I want them to take the Netflix series and bring them over.
2 years.
To a Disney Plus or something like
buddy.
that, and not recast.
The 5, right? You can leave Iron Fist, I'm fine. You can leave the Defenders. They just didn't work out. But actually, 4. Yeah, 3. The 4 that are left.
4 of the 6 or whatever.
Yeah, you've got Jessica Jones. You've got Daredevil, which would be interesting to see just because Kingpin is amazing. Like,
Awesome.
That show's so
And
good.
Charlie Cox is awesome at Daredevil too. I feel like nobody can do.
Agreed, but it's kind of so overshadowed by that.
True.
Luke Cage.
Luke Cage is one of my favorites. That was such a cool way that they were tying all that together. Again, they ruined it with Iron Fist, but that was really fun to do. And then Punisher. It was this last season of Punisher was so awesome. I got so into it.
Wouldn't it be cool to put Moon Knight in that?
Oh, I was hoping for a Moon Knight for Netflix, like before all this went down. I really would have liked a Moon Knight or a Netflix Blade.
I had a guy who literally, you would never expect him to say what he said. He's this little short, he looked like Yosemite Sam, little white dude with a long beard. And he goes, "You like Moon Knight?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Wouldn't it be cool if Netflix took Moon Knight, but instead of making him a white dude, making him a black guy or a Middle Eastern dude?" Because they're in Egypt.
Right.
Where he's working for the Mossad or an assassin or something, and then he gets hurt, sells his soul to Khonshu. I mean, because if you're going to go around town trying to get information from homeless people, no offense, they ain't going to ask you. They're probably coming to me first, right? So if you change his ethnicity, that character would work. Let's deal with his multi-personality disorder. I think Moon Knight would be way better than a Batman show.
Oh yeah, I love it.
That's my dream.
I love Batman, but I think Batman works in film. I think it would be hard to do episodic with him. Last year what I wanted for the MCU, and I still wanted, was the Matt Fraction Hawkeye series that
you get me.
I swear to God, I want him to be a landlord. I want him to have Pizza Dog and Kate Bishop there, which I know at least one of those things is happening.
Yeah, we might have Pizza Dog, and he might own a
It's hard. It's going to be a hard sell if his family's involved with it.
They're apparently doing it for
Disney Plus. And that's what I can't wait. They're doing exactly with Disney Plus what I want them to do, and that's taking some of these secondary characters from the MCU and giving them their spotlight.
What would you call a third? This first, secondary. What's the third?
Tertiary.
What do you think about the Eternals movie? They're apparently nailing down Angelina. Oh, that didn't sound right. They're hiring Angelina Jolie, and they're going to have the first gay superhero.
I'm for it. You know,
I'm all for it. And I hope it's Hercules. That's a great twist. Some guy that's known for being super.
And we were talking about that yesterday with Michael Yates, who said, you know, people were all upset about a possible gay hero, especially being Hercules. But if you look back at his history, that's Hercules' character in the comic books.
Have y'all watched any of them Grease movies? Have you seen Caligula? Did you come out of there going, ew? But hey, that's the way they roll back then.
That's the way.
I want that. I love the idea of, with Disney Plus, I think they're going to be taking characters that would have normally gone to Netflix, but now they're going to be incorporated into the grander scheme. We're going into a whole new world with Marvel and everything being, I think, so we have about 10 minutes left. Let's give first final comments about the MCU from the panelists here. Mike, you have any final comments?
No, I'm going to yield my time to Rodney and Michael.
I will yield my time to the audience. I agree.
All right, so if you guys have any questions that you'd like to ask a writer who knows his stuff, or an artist and 2 movie fans, I get one hand up over here, so if you want to come up and talk. Let's give it up for Mike, I forget your last name, from the Recasting Couch. And I am Kevin Gallagher with Everything is Awesome. On awesomepodcast.com, tellus.com, on Facebook and Instagram, at
Blacklistedpodcast.com.
There you go. And
Recastingcouch.com if you want business cards, I got them. Come see me.
all right, and thank you all for coming out for the end of an era.
Thanks for coming out, ladies and gentlemen.
Enjoy the rest of the Philadelphia Comic Con. Thank you, Philadelphia Comic Con, for having us.
Bye-bye.